This is the live concert disasters iceberg. An iceberg is a way to compile information from most known to least known, and as the name implies, we will be looking at some concerts that didn't end well. This iceberg was created by user/Metaruner, so thanks to them for letting me use this for my video. This video will contain disturbing content, so viewer discretion has been advised. With that out of the way, let's jump right in on this video. If you want more videos like this, let me know in the comments section down below. The tip. For those who don't know, Travis Scott is an American rapper. Basically, everyone knows who he is. In 2018, Travis Scott started a series of festivals called Astroworld, which were all hosted in Houston, the city where he was born. He hosted one in 2019, and one in 2020 was supposed to happen, but was postponed because, yeah, obviously. Then the following year, in 2021, it got made, and they were allowed to do concerts again. But when the 2021 concert rolled around, tragedy struck. On the first day of the festival, when Travis Scott came onto the stage to perform Escape Plan, everyone would move forward closer to the stage, and this would result in a stage crush, which was caused by overcrowding. As this happened, many people would start to fall over from asphyxiation and would end up dying as a result of this situation. Even though many were calling out at Travis Scott to end the concert, he said that he couldn't hear them, so he didn't end it, which a lot of people call bullshit on, and I kind of do too. Around 300 people were treated with injuries in the event, and 10 people would lose their lives that day. Many people would blame overcrowding, many blame Travis and Live Nation, and some of both. And from the videos that you would see on TikTok and all over social media platforms, it was brutal. And honestly, it's hard to blame just one person. Currently, Travis and Live Nation are being sued for a total of $750 million. Which, man, that's a lot. I'm never gonna see that money, probably. There's plenty of information on the internet and most people know about this case, so I'm not gonna go any further. But recently, a reported 12,400 people need medical treatment after the festival. Woodstock 99. I have to sum this one up pretty quickly because honestly, there's a lot of videos and stuff about this, and I don't, it's very complex. The whole entire story, there's a lot that happens. So this is how we're gonna sum it up. And it was a way to bring back Woodstock because of the first Woodstock, and this was the one that was supposed to bring it all together, bring back the old events. It failed miserably due to overheating, a ton of sexual assault, water being the same price as beer, 3 people dying from many reasons, overcrowding, fires, destruction of property, and many more reasons. I wish I could talk about, really. I wish I could talk about it, but there's so many videos. There's a documentary on Hulu, which is, I liked it mediocrely. There's some things I didn't like, but I thought it was good. The information's great. You should definitely check it out. Paris concert terrorist attack. During the November 2015 terrorist attack at Paris, which were coordinated attacks by an Islamic terrorist group, one of the attacks occurred on the Bataclan Theater, and around 1,500 people watched Eagles of Metal perform. 3 gunmen in a black rental car waited outside with AKM assault rifles. As the band played Kiss the Devil, the men got out of the vehicle and opened fire on the crowd outside, killing 3. They were heading into the theater and opened fire to the crowd. The gunmen were very strategic. All 3 had explosive vests. 2 of the terrorists would try to detonate the bomb and would succeed, and the other one would die from being shot, but would try to do the same and fail. I cannot go into any further details because it's just so gory for YouTube, and a total of 90 people lost their lives that day. 100 more would be injured. Rest in peace. Fyre Festival. This one's a little bit different from all the other ones. In fact, this one was just a scam. Fyre Festival was founded by Billy McFarlane, an entrepreneur who founded companies like Maggie's, which, we're gonna talk about in a minute. Fyre was also founded by rapper Ja Rule, which I had no idea existed before I even researched this. One of the many reasons that Fyre was created was for Billy to advertise one of his many ideas for an app called Fyre, which was used to book musicians. He got investors to give him a large sum of cash, which was like, I don't know, $27 million. He promised everyone who bought a ticket for this event that it was going to be some luxurious festival in the Bahamas with amazing food and a great set of music and glamorous accommodations, something along those lines of Coachella. Many models promoted this event, which some made a ton of money, and man, I wish I was them. Each ticket would cost around $1,200 to $12,000 for the VIP tickets. And the music set list was supposedly supposed to be good, but I really only saw one band that I knew here, and I was like, yeah, this doesn't look really good. Fast forward to the actual festival, and it turned out to be a total sham. Blink 182 also canceled, and the food sucked, and it was just not luxurious at all, and much more. Ultimately, Billy McFarland and Ja Rule would be given a fat $100 million lawsuit. However, the judge cleared Ja Rule from any wrongdoing. Billy McFarland wasn't so lucky though, and would be found guilty on fraud and would be sentenced to 6 years in prison, and would have to pay $26 million. Oh, and his other company, the other one that I talk about, the Maggies, was a scam. It was a scam too. He was lying, like all the time. He just likes to lie. What a crazy man. There's more videos about this, obviously. Ariana Grande Manchester bombing. I'm not gonna get into this one on a deep level. There's a ton of information, but I'm just gonna give you the general gist. This one refers to an Islamic terrorist suicide attack that happened in the Manchester Arena in England. On May 22nd, 2017, after an Ariana Grande concert, I'm not gonna give credit to the guy who made this and did this shit, because fuck them. They took the lives of 22 people, kids, and injured over 1,000, many who suffered PTSD after this. The 2011 Indiana State Fair collapse. The Indiana State Fair collapse was an incident during Indiana State Fair in August 13, 2011. During what was supposed to be one of Sugarland's performances, turned into terror, however, after a wind gust that approached a severe thunderstorm hit the stage temporary roof structure, causing it to collapse. The structure landed among the crowd of spectators, killing 7 and injuring 78 others. The whole event was supposed to be canceled after a while, but was shortly not canceled and was being delayed and whatnot, and there was a ton of issues during the event or leading up to the event, and a minute before they were about to announce to cancel because of the weather, a thing went wrong. Below the surface, the station nightclub fire. On this event of February 20th, 2003 in West Warwick, Rhode Island, during the performance of Great White, pyrotechnics were set off by the tour manager, which ignited flammable acoustic foam in the walls and ceiling surrounding the stage. It caused all combustible materials to burn. Intense black smoke engulfed the club within 2 minutes. Video footage of the fire shows its ignition, rapid growth, the smoke that quickly made escape impossible. The toxic smoke, heat, and resulting human rush towards the main exit killed 100, which one of them being the lead guitarist of the band that played that. However, that man was able to escape in time, but would go back in to get his guitar, not knowing of the dangers and ending up dying. 230 people were injured and another 132 escaped unscathed. Many of the survivors developed PTSD after the event. So many people have already covered this, and I don't want to get deep into this. There's just a lot. Go watch Fascinating Horrors video on this. Love Parade 2010. On July 24th, 2010, a crowd crush would occur. It caused the death of 21 people from suffocation as attendees sought to escape the ramp leading to the festival area. At least 500 more were injured. As a consequence of the disaster, the organizers of the festival announced that there would be no more Love and they would be permanently canceled. Criminal charges were brought against 10 employees of the city of that and of a company that organized the event, but it was rejected due to not having enough evidence. This one is labeled wrong. I don't see The Who playing during this concert, and I will still talk about it because there's some stuff about this concert that is a little bit important. The Altamont Speedway Free Concert was a concert that was hosted by the Rolling Stones and features artists like Santana, Jefferson Airplane, and many more. Over 300,000 people showed up for this event, of course, because it was a free one, and many remember this concert as a violent-infested concert. And I mean, it was for many reasons, like an extensive amount of property damage, and 4 deaths, and so on. But one of the most important deaths that happened during this event, although the other ones were about 2 were hit and run cases. 1 was an accidental drowning from LSD, and the last one was the most important. And of course, I'm referring to the death and stabbing of Meredith Hunter. Hunter would approach the stage and would be violently driven off by members of Hell's Angels Motorcycle Club, which were guards of the event. However, Hunter would try again, but this time he would draw his revolver. This is where obviously things would not go as planned, and a guard named Alan would stab Hunter to death. The whole event was captured on camera and was part of the Rolling Stones documentary called Gimme Shelter. Alan would be tried and charged for the murder in 1971, but after 17 days following the testimony, Alan was acquitted on grounds of self-defense after the tape was viewed. The Las Vegas Music Festival shooting. A lot of people have already talked about this, and it's a very well-known case of what happened, but we're still going to talk about it. You can always watch another video about it. On October 1st, 2017, Stephen Paddock, a 64-year-old man from Mesquite, Nevada, opened fire on a crowd attending the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival on Las Vegas Strip in Nevada. He shot from the 34th floor in the Mandalay Bay Hotel. He fired more than 1,000 shots and killed 60 people, 411. About a half hour later, he was found dead in his room from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The motive of the mass shooting is still unknown. The incident is the deadliest mass shooting of all time committed by an individual in the United States. Like I said, I can't do justice to this one, and I just have to move on. Many videos talk about this, obviously. You can check it out. Nick Menza at the Baked Potato Jazz Club. Nick Menza was a former Megadeth drummer who was active from the band from 1981 till 1998. He was one of the first members and co-founded the band, recording a total of 4 albums with the band. On May 21st, 2016, during a regular session with his band OHM, Nick would unexpectedly suffer a heart attack and collapse during the 3rd song. This one's a little bit hard to pronounce. Pearl Jam at the Roskilde Festival. Yeah, we're just gonna say the Row Festival because I just can't do it. Around 50,000 people had showed up on this concert, just a regular Pearl Jam concert or whatnot. People really wanted to see them. It was supposed to be a normal day with no crazy stuff happening. However, many individuals fell down at one location about half an hour after the event began, mostly owing to the series of wave-like motions in the audience, which were a consequence of people trying to get closer to the stage. Others pushed over and crowd surfers fell into this hole that was a few meters by a few meters in size, which they did not instantly get up. People at the bottom died of asphyxiation in under 5 minutes. There was also considerable rain that day, which might have contributed to a slick round. Some concertgoers were hauled over the stage barriers, informed security of the gravity of the situation farther back. The band was alerted and the music would be turned off, and the crowd would be asked to move back. It took many minutes before anyone would be able to get to the actual victims, where the casualties were transported to a nearby medical tent, where nurses and physicians treated them, but it was too late for them. In total, 9 people would lose their lives tragically that day. Beverly Hills Supper Club fire. On May 28, 1977, during the Memorial Day weekend, the Beverly Hills Supper Club in Southgate, Kennedy was filled with an overcrowding audience of around 900 to 1,300, with the maximum capacity being 600. They all waited for famous actor and singer John Davidson to take the stage. At 9 p.m., when employees smelled smoke and opened the Zebra Room's door, another room in the building, to confirm the existence of smoke, they instructed another employee to phone 911. as them and other grabbed fire extinguishers and attempted to put out the fire. Fire extinguishers immediately proved ineffective against the rapidly spreading flames. The fire department was notified about the fire at 9:01 p.m. and arrived at 9:05 p.m. Firemen could quickly see the smoke rising from the structure as they approached. The employees began to urge the room occupants to leave the building. However, a lot of the complex buildings lacked an audible fire alarm. Those in most isolated rooms had no way to know that there was a fire in the building until employees walked into the room. It wasn't until a busboy, White Bailey, jumped on stage and told everyone to evacuate. But by the time he told them, little time left for the audience to leave in the room's small exits. Around 9:10 p.m., the power of the building failed. Panic ensued and many started to push through. The situation got worse when there were 3 exits in the room. 2 of them were soon blocked by the fire, leaving the crowd to funnel through a single exit. Employees outside exits attempted to pull guests to safety, but the crush of the bodies of those behind pushed upon those in front became so solid there was no amount of strength that could free most of them. At the end of the day, 165 people lost their lives that day, and then over 200 people would receive injuries, all because of inadequate fire exits, safe code violations, lack of firewalls, and much, much more. Tomorrowworld 2015. Tomorrowworld 2015 was almost as crazy as what happened in Woodstock 99. There's just so much to cover in just one video, so I will have to summarize very briefly and quickly as here we go again. Poor organization. Heavy rainfall that caused campgrounds in a muddy mess. Several sexual assaults. Shuttle buses, which were supposed to take people back home, couldn't make it all the way to the festival. So people had to walk miles, people had to rest on the road without any food or water, and much, much more. I wish I could cover it all, but I have to move on. I recommend a video by Forever Sidetrack about this event. Corinaldo Stampede. During a rap concert at the Blue Lantern Club on December 8, 2018, 6 people died in a stampede with 200 people injured. Around 1,400 people attended that concert that night, even though the maximum capacity was 459. It was 1 a.m. when someone sprayed pepper spray in the building. This is where everyone would start to panic, would rush to emergency exits, but railings gave away. People would fall off the walkways, where many people would land on top of each other, leading to deaths and injuries. After an investigation, people found that suspects of the crime turned out to be gang members that were trying to steal people's stuff. 6 people would be ultimately charged with manslaughter. The Who concert 1979. The Who concert disaster was a concert that happened in December 3rd, 1979. It was a rush of concertgoers at the entry doors that resulted in the deaths of 11 people in Cincinnati, Ohio at the Riverfront Coliseum. People were told through radio stations that general admission ticket holders would be admitted at 3 p.m. and sizable crowd formed at around 5 p.m. Although all doors were expected to be open simultaneously, only a pair of doors at the front right of the main entrance would finally open. As concertgoers entered the stadium through these 2 doors, those who waited in front of all these doors began pushing forward again. After waiting, then knocking on the doors and the glass next to the doors, the crowd assumed that none of the remaining doors would be open. At around 7:15, the situation began to escalate. At some point, the crowd assumed that the Who were on earlier than scheduled, and this is where things went completely wrong. Around this time, the entire crowd pushed towards the first 2 doors that had opened. This caused many people to get trampled, and some suffered with some serious injury. 11 people were unable to escape the dense crowd pushing towards them and died of asphyxiation. 26 other people reported injuries. This was the event that caused many places to stop offering general admission, and most places now don't offer general admission if they are big coliseums or stadiums. AC/DC at Salt Palace. On January 18th, 1991, tragedy struck during the AC/DC concert. On January 18th, 1991, January 18th, 1991, tragedy would struck at an AC/DC concert. While they started playing Thunderstruck, a sea of fans rushed towards the stage. The place was booked as general admission, so there was no assigned seating during this event. More than 13,000 people were in attendance that night, and it was a whole entire free-for-all for a dash to the premium spots. This would lead to a stampede where many people would crush each other. When the mayhem happened, the band continued to play for around 15 to 45 minutes, as people have said, until it was way too chaotic. As a result of this event, 3 people would lose their lives, 3 teens to be exact, 1 from that night and 2 in the hospital. Many more would be injured during this event. This one is related to the one about the Who because both were general admission, and these would lead to the reason why venues do not allow general admission, at least the big ones now don't. G.G. Allin ODs after concert. G.G. Allin was an American punk artist who performed in a number of bands like the Murder Junkies, the Jabbers, and many others. G.G. Allin's last show was on June 22nd, 1993, inside a former gas station located in Manhattan. The show ended after 3 songs when a fight started. Allin ended up outside, leading a group of fans through a neighborhood. After walking the street for an hour or so, Allin went eventually to Johnny Puke's apartment. Good name. There he would party and use a lot of drugs, along with Johnny Puke. Allin ingested large amounts of heroin, on which he overdosed and went unconscious. Sometime in the early morning of June 28th, Allin would die from the effects of heroin. Christ! Okay, I'm just gonna read this part. Holy Jesus, I just forgot that was there. Later that morning, Puke noticed that Allin still laid motionless in the same place where he had left him and posed for Polaroids with the corpse before calling for an ambulance. Allin was pronounced dead at the scene. He was 2 months shot from his 37th birthday. Jesus Christ, man. Bottom of the iceberg. Tiny Tim at the Ukulele Hall of Fame. Herbert, also known as Tiny Tim, I can't say his last name, was a ukulele player who made very popular songs like Tiptoe Through the Tulips and Living in the Sunlight. You know that popular song that was on SpongeBob on the first episode? On September 28, 1996, Tiny was invited to perform at the Ukulele Hall of Fame Expo. However, when Tiny got up on stage to perform his set of the show, he announced, "And if you hear any coughing during the show, well, that's because, well, you know." As he said this, he would fall on the stage as the cameras were rolling. This footage would be played on national news and news stations everywhere. It was revealed that he had a heart attack. He did not listen to the warnings, and thus he died of a massive heart attack 2 months later. Guns N' Roses in Montreal riot. During the Metallica set, when James Hetfield was horrifically injured in a scary pyrotechnics incident that sent him to the hospital with second-degree burns during Fade to Black, the band would cut its set short. Guns N' Roses would take a total of 2 hours before they would even take stage after Metallica's incident. And that's when things went south. Rose had a hole in his vocal cord. Rose would last 55 minutes before ending the set. After standing around waiting to rock only to hear Rose say, "This will be the last show for a long time," then walked off the stage. The crowd turned to violence. There was around 53,000 people in attendance, and only around 2,000 people would end up going into a riot. But this would cause great amount of property damage, which reportedly included an uprooted street lamp, an overturned police cruiser, and way more. The whole thing was kept from spiraling too far out of control by Montreal police. When all was done, there was at least 3 policemen that were injured and 10 rioters, and at least a dozen arrests. It would be around $500,000 in damages what was caused, and Guns N' Roses would be banned from the city's Olympic Stadium for life. Montreux Concert 1971. On December 4th, 1971, the Montreux Casino burnt down during a concert by the Mothers of Invention. Frank Zappa's band, for those who aren't aware. It started after a fan set the venue on fire with a flame gun. What? The fire started nearly 90 minutes into the performance when the band's keyboardist started his solo in King Kong. Even though the fire was really big, it didn't take anyone's life that day. But it was really stupid and that was dumb. At least no one got hurt. David Olney at the 30A Songwriter Festival. On January 18th, 2020, during an annual songwriter festival in Santa Rosa Beach in Florida, David Olney would perform his set when out of nowhere, Olney simply went silent while singing his third song. He would suffer a heart attack and die. He was 71 years old at the time. Scott Miller, a singer and songwriter who shared the stage with him, said this: David was playing a song when he paused, said, "I'm sorry," and put his chin on his chest. He never dropped his guitar or fell off his stool. It was as easy and gentle as he was. You know, it's really sad looking at this one because first thing that shows up is a performance from that same day, just hours or whatever before. You just never know what's gonna happen, man. Jesus Christ, this is really tragic, and a lot more disturbing than I first anticipated. Wow. Let's just cut the pace and have a little talk, you know? Hope you're doing fine today. Did you watch the last episode of Better Call Saul before the series ending? Yeah, that was crazy. But I'm really excited to see what happens next. Oh, and remember, go watch my video all the way to the end because I always have a meme or some video at the end. So you may laugh, you may not. It's just lighthearted, always in every video that I make. But yeah, subscribe for life. Anyways, let's continue. Irma Bule dies to a king cobra. Irma Bule was an Indonesian pop singer. She was most known for having snakes on stage while she performed her shows. Unfortunately, on April 4th, 2016, during a performance in West Java, she stepped on a king cobra accidentally and was bit. However, she would continue to perform even after the bite and would even turn down an antidote that would save her life. After around 45 minutes, she would reportedly start vomiting and she would have a seizure and she would collapse. She was taken to the hospital where she was pronounced dead. She was 29. Phil Anselmo at 2016 Dime Bash. Not really sure why this one is on the list, but I guess I understand why it's a disaster and what happened. There was no property damage, no deaths, nothing, but you know what? I'll still talk about it. Phil Anselmo is an American singer most known for his contribution as the lead singer in the metal band known as Pantera. In 2016, Dimebag would be created for one of the members of the band of Pantera, the famous Dimebag Darrell. We will later talk about this on the Iceberg. Anyways, the event was a tribute to the man himself and was supposed to go completely well, and it did, until the end when Phil Anselmo got off the stage. For some damn reason, he decided it was a good idea to do this. He decided to do the Nazi symbol and yell white power. Oh, and of course, a lot of fans were upset about this, and the video of him doing it was posted to YouTube with millions of people seeing this. Phil's reputation was ruined and many people didn't like the man at all. He apologized in a number of occasions. He said, quote, "I feel like it's ridiculous. I made an off-color joke and boom. It's like I'm literally Hitler. I'm not. I take each individual one at a time in a way that any logical individual will. I have love in my heart. Over the years, I have learned to take first steps with love and put good faith first. It's absurd to me that anyone in this day and age would judge anyone by their color of their skin, their heritage, or their religion. I'm a harmless guy, not a troublemaker. Then, am I supposed to relive shit or rewind time, erase people's memories? If you stack what I've done against all the horrible things that have been done on this earth, I'd hope that I'd come pretty low on the list. I don't have racist bone in my body. My heroes are everybody." 2021 Redneck Rave. You know, when I saw this name, I thought, wow, how could this possibly go wrong, right? You know, what are the chances that this goes wrong? Is anyone gonna die? Because this is a terrible idea. But no. Surprisingly, and honestly, I was really surprised to see that it's been worse in other places. And like I said, no one died during this event. No one. Not a single person died. I'm sure it was a big mess with drugs and people being crazy because, you know, rednecks. That's just... And having to say redneck... I've never thought in my life I would say redneck rave in a sentence. Yeah. 2 things did happen in the event that are kind of important. One guy got his throat slit. And he didn't die though. He just didn't die. And another guy got impaled. There's pictures. I'm not going to show you the impalement because obviously that's not YouTube allowed. But I'm not really surprised about it. I think overall that this idea is crazy, but I guess it works somehow. I mean, they had one this year, so oh well. Ghost ship warehouse fire. In Oakland, California, a former warehouse was turned into an artistic collective. They would host concerts in the building and also had a limited space of living for some people. However, the building was not built for this sort of thing and was used for industrial purposes, which, if they ever figured out that they were doing this, it was illegal. On December 2nd, 2016, a concert would be held which featured artists from the house music record label named 100% Silk. Around 80 to 100 people attended that concert that night. During the concert at around 11:20, a fire broke out in the building from what people believed to have been an electrical failure. The fire quickly spread and many people tried to extinguish it, but it was way too fast. The aftermath of the event wasn't very pretty though. A total of 36 people would lose their lives that day and 2 received non-fatal injuries. On January 20th, the city of Oakland settled a civil lawsuit for the victims and agreed to pay a total of $33 million and $9 million to the ones who survived with lifelong injuries, 24 to the families and of those who've perished. Radiohead stage collapse. On June 16th, Radiohead were going to perform the last concert on their 2012 North American tour in support of their 8th album, The King Limbs, in Downsview Park, Toronto. The band members waited while the road crew were preparing the equipment. The weather was calm. At 2 p.m., Radiohead's business manager noticed that a scaffolding on the stage appeared to be drooping and took a photograph. He did not challenge it as he was not knowledgeable and thought it was just nothing. At 4 p.m., an hour before the gates were due to open for concertgoers, the stage roof would collapse. Scott Johnson was killed instantly by a falling video monitor. 3 other members of Radiohead's crew were also injured, 1 serious. The band's light show and much of the musical equipment was also destroyed. The concert was cancelled and Radiohead's European tour was postponed. There was a ton of legal proceedings and crap that happened, but ultimately no one was charged. A sad truth. Rest in peace, man. The Colectiv Nightclub fire in Romania. On October 30th, 2015, during a concert by the metalcore band Goodbye to Gravity, which were performing to celebrate the release of their new album, a free concert was made for this event. About half an hour into midnight, the club was engulfed in flames because a spark was set off by pyrotechnics. Some witnesses said that there was an explosion, but this was disputed and later dismissed by other sources. The club's ceiling was supported by pillars, which were coated with flammable soundproofing foam. Sometime after the pyrotechnics began, the foam on one of the pillars was ignited. The fire spread really quick and onto the ceiling, eventually causing it to collapse. Media reported that clubgoers initially thought that the fires were just part of the show and didn't react at all. When the ceiling caught fire, the approximately 200 to 400 people in the club panicked and rushed to the only working exit in the venue, which created a stampede. The 2-part door was only half open, thus too narrow, so people climbed on top of each other to get out. A witness said that concertgoers had to break down another half of a door to escape. Many people had already suffered burns. People also smashed windows in order to escape. This was the deadliest fire in the country's history, with a total of 64 deaths and 146 injuries. Antananarivo Stampede. I'm just gonna say Antan. Sorry, I just can't say it. On June 26, 2019, during the 59th Independence Day, Manhattan Municipal Stadium, a Rosie concert would be set to be there that day. Security forces opened the gates in the stadium, allowing spectators to enter, causing the crowd to mass outside the stadium. Police then closed the gates and blocked the crowd. This caused a pileup. Obviously, the crowd thought that the gates had been opened and they tried to force the doors. They remained closed, but the crowd kept pushing, which caused a crush. 16 people would lose their lives that day, and a total of 101 people would be injured. So many crowd crushings. Further down, the Swell Season Concert onstage suicide. On August 19, 2010, during a concert by the Swell Season that was taking place at the Mountain Winery in Saratoga, California, a 32-year-old man left his seat at around 10 p.m., climbed onto the rooftop approximately 20 to 30 feet above the stage, and just after the band finished playing When Your Mind's Made Up, he jumped to his death, landing just feet away from the singer. With the crowd and band in shock, they immediately stopped everything, some rushing to the man's aid, others calling for an ambulance. Although despite half an hour of CPR revival attempts by paramedics who happened to be in attendance, he was pronounced dead at the scene. He was pronounced dead at the scene by a doctor who happened to be there in the audience. It was later revealed that the man had recently been released from jail on a bail of $150,000 after being in prison for threatening to kill both himself and his girlfriend on New Year's Eve day of that same year. Silk 2016 West Coast Tour. This one is just referring to the ghost ship thing, I believe, so we're just gonna move on. Cromanon fire. On December 30th, 2004, in Buenos Aires, Argentina, a fire would break out in the crowd after a pyrotechnic flame was set off by Callejeros, a rock band that played that night. A crowd of around 3,000 people were in the audience that night, with it exceeding double the amount the venue could hold. The flare would ignite foam in the ceiling. The building had a lot of decorations which were all flammable, and a net on the ceiling caused fire first, melting in rain of fires. The owner and the band's lead singer both informed the audience to not use flares in the building, but somebody didn't listen. This is where shit gets really annoying. When the fire started and people were trying to escape, 4 out of 6 doors, which were fire exits, were all chained up because people were trying to enter without paying. Most of the victims died from inhaling carbon monoxide. Most of the victims died from inhaling poisonous gases, which were caused by the materials and carbon monoxide. After the fire, INTI found that due to materials and volumes of the building, the concentration of cyanide in the air was significant enough to cause death within minutes of inhalation. Many of the victims that night were children, 20-year-olds and early teens. A total of 194 people would die as a result of the concert, and a total of 1,432 people would receive some form of injury. Following this, an Argentine judge issued a national and international arrest order against Omar, the local businessman who owned the building, and other nightclubs in the area. He was forced to close all locations. President Nestor decreed 3 days of national mourning, and city authorities forbade concerts and closed all nightclubs in Buenos Aires. During that period, they were opened up one by one after they were checked and inspected and approved by the fire department. It was later known that the nightclub had been overdue for fire hazard inspection since late November 2004, although Buenos Aires Mayor Ibarra blamed the fire department They found several flaws in the city's inspection system. In addition to all that, Ibarra failed to even reorganize the system. A few days after the fire, Ibarra reshuffled the entire Buenos Aires Security and Emergency Administration. The city's legislator announced that the mayor Ibarra was going to face questioning session, but failed to achieve the necessary votes to be forced his question. Shortly thereafter, Ibarra voluntarily submitted to the questioning session and announced a recall. Many organized and tried to get him out of office. And on November 14, 2005, an impeachment jury formed by the Buenos Aires legislator suspended Mayor Ibarra for 4 months, pending on an investigation from his performance that could lead to his removal. On March 7, 2017, after 4 months of deliberations, the impeachment jury voted to remove Ibarra from office. After all this, on trial would start on August 19th, 2008 and lasted a year. The judges heard from over 300 witnesses who said that young fans had lit a fire that struck the building. It was revealed that the band was in charge of the concert's organization, security, and entry into the club that night. It was deemed that the band was not at fault for the club being given a permit, although it lacked the basic fire safety measures such as fire extinguishers, working emergency exits, and non-flammable walls and ceilings. This is the sentencing that it went for all the people involved. Omar, the owner, got 20 years prison sentence. Raul got a 1-year suspended prison sentence. I don't know who that is. I didn't see his name anywhere. The members of the band were all acquitted, and then they were retried in 2011. They all received an 11-year prison sentence, but was reduced to 7 years in 2012. The band manager would receive an 18-year prison sentence. Fabian, a control secretary, would receive a 2-year prison sentence. And the Buenos Aires government servant would receive 2 years prison sentence. The sub-commissioner Carlos Diaz would receive 18 years prison sentence. Commissioner Miguel would also be acquitted. Judge Dredd at the Penny Theatre. Oh my god. Judge Dredd was a British ska and reggae artist best known for his hit Big 7 in the 70s. On March 13th, 1998, Judge Dredd would collapse and die on stage as he was concluding his performance in Penny Theatre. It was believed that his last words were, "Let's hear it for the band." He would then kneel over, and many thought it was a joke. And an off-duty paramedic also was present but thought it was a joke, but later realized that it wasn't and started to resuscitate him. But minutes later, at a nearby hospital, he would be pronounced dead from a heart attack. He was 53 at the time. Beside at AACC. It was a stampede and mass hysteria that occurred on February 9th, 2008 in Asian Africa Culture Center. The number of attendants that night for that concert exceeded the capacity of the building where the concert was being placed. There were an estimated 800 to 1,000 people watching that concert. Apart from that, there was people outside of the building too. When the concert concluded around 20:30, the panic started and the attendants were leaving the building. As the building was unable to accommodate to so many attendants, the air circulation was greatly decreased and many attendants were suffering from asphyxiation. The lack of medical staffs caused the impact attendants to receive no proper medical attention. The mass hysteria claimed 11 lives and left dozens attendants injured. There was not much information about this I could find, so I apologize. I wish I could talk more about it, but we gotta move on. Death Grips at Lollapalooza 2013. When Death Grips didn't show up to their after show that was set to be played at Chicago's Bottom Lounge, fans went absolutely bonkers, bananas, and they destroyed all their equipment. That was it. Neutro Shorty Concert Stampede. On November 19th, 2019, before a free concert in Parque de Este, in El Parque del Este, in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela, the concert was called Banderas Blancas. Over 8,000 people, largely teenagers, showed up to attend the concert. Fighting and pushing broke out in the concert by a group of young people that climbed over a fence and got into a concert. Though the concert was to begin at 10 a.m., many of the people were breaking into the park early and causing chaos. Why? Why exactly? Why was this happening? I don't understand. The Spanish news El País reported that the concert was marked by negligence and improvisation. There was limited police officers and National Guard in attendance outside the park. The number of concertgoers overwhelmed the security. The main crush of people took place between Simon Bridge and La Carlota at around 8:50 a.m. People climbed the fences, eventually toppled them, which then caused a mass stampede into the park. 4 teens were killed and over 50 were injured. This is so stupid. Reading about this and actually hearing this, God. Dark waters. All right, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. Damageplan Tour 2004. I talked about it earlier, and now we're about to get to it. Damageplan was a band that formed shortly after the split of Pantera, another band that we mentioned before. This is a topic that I covered in a small amount earlier, like I just said, in the Phil 2016 Dime Bash thing, which links these two. On February 10th, 2004, Damageplan would release their first album and their only album, titled Newfound Power. Around the same time, they would start to tour and would to promote the album's release on December 8th, 2004. The worst happened. Damageplan would perform at the Alrosa Villa nightclub in Columbus, Ohio. Nothing went wrong for the part of the concert, and it seemed like it was going to be another great concert. However, just outside was Nathan Gale, a 25-year-old paranoid schizophrenic with a 9mm Beretta. He was a fan of the band, which one day he started to believe that the Abbott brothers, also known as Vinny and Dimebag, were stealing his lyrics and identity. In retaliation, Gale would go inside, making his way to the front and start to climb onto the stage, where he would then draw his handgun and shoot Dimebag 5 times in the head, killing him instantly. The band security, Jeffrey Mayhem Thompson, would then engage into hand-to-hand combat with Gale, which allowed the band to escape. However, Gale will also shoot Thompson. A roadie of the band would also try to disarm Gale. While he was reloading, he failed to and was killed also. Nathan Bray, a fan of the band, would attempt to CPR all 3 of the men who were shot, but was killed in the process. When officers arrived at the scene, Officer James would approach the stage from behind and saw that Gale had the band's drum technician hostage. The officer would shoot Gale once in the head with a 12-gauge shotgun, killing him instantly. Gale ultimately shot 15 times with 30 rounds still in his person. In total, at this event, 3 people would be injured and 5 would lose their lives because of this man. Many people mourned the event, and a fund was created to aid the people who were injured. And as we talked about later, a whole concert was made in Dimebag's honor. Sadly, it didn't get any better, and news got worse. The officer who killed Gale had to leave the police force 3 years after the event because he would never recover from the event emotionally. He had this to say: "I found out that you don't have any control over your brain. It's gonna do what it's gonna do. Cops are regular human beings. Things affect us the same way they affect everyday citizens. We relive it and we have to deal with it. It changed my career path, not for the better," he reflects. He adds, "I'm happy to have been able to end the situation with no further tragedies after I arrived, but it hasn't made my life any better. I hope he's doing a lot better now. I can't imagine what it feels like to go through this." Lee Morgan at Slum Saloon. Not much information is on the situation besides a small New York Times article, so I'm just going to read this directly, although I know I'm reading my script, you can tell, but I'm going to read this one directly. Lee Morgan, a well-known jazz trumpet player, was shot and killed earlier today at Slums at East Village nightclub at 243 East 3rd City, where his quintet was playing. The police said Mr. Morgan, who was 33 years old, lived on the Grand Concourse in Bronx. He was shot by a woman whom they identified as Helen, 47. Mr. Morgan had compiled an early morning show with his group and was sitting at the bar when he engaged in the quintet, the police said. She left, but returned a short while later. The police said that argument was renewed. A shot was fired and Mr. Morgan fell on the floor with a bullet in his heart. Miss Moore, whom the police said was Mr. Morgan's common-law wife, was held without a bail for action of the grand jury. And I couldn't find any further information. This is a very unknown subject. I believe this was in 71 that this happened. That's all. Rebot Kawaku Ba at Stockholm, Sweden. Anthony Rebot Kolakban was I can't say that, percussionist who worked with rock groups during the 70s like Traffic and Can. Many people like Nick Drake, Randy Weston, and Steve Winwood. Ba died of a cerebral hemorrhage during a performance in Stockholm, Sweden in January 1983, where he was on tour with Jimmy Cliff. He was 38 when he died. Malwazi Stampede. On May 23, 2009, at Haynada Stadium in Rabat, during the Malwazi Music Festival, at least 11 people would die and around 40 would be injured after a fence collapsed. As the festival was coming to a close, with hurried fans congressing as they attempted to leave, the rush caused the fence to collapse and stampede. You know, I'm really trying to wonder, like, how many times have I said anyways in any video? Like, someone should keep track of that. Like, I want to see a compilation of that one day, because I've said anyways a lot. Like, it's not in this video, but anyways has been my like catchphrase for like ever. I mean, I've said that in every other video. I think like at least 1,000 times. Anyways, I think subscribe for life, please. We're almost done. We are literally really close to being finished, so hang tight, man. Santika Club Fire. On January 1st, 2009, at the Santika Club in Bangkok, Thailand, during the New Year celebration, a fire broke out. It's unknown how exactly a fire started, but many believe it could have been a fire that was set off on the roof by outdoor fireworks, or some sparklers that was lighted inside the nightclub, the lighting, or an electrical explosion. Either way, the fire seemed to have spread without anyone noticing until 10 minutes after midnight, which would suggest that the fire started from the ceiling space or on the roof of the building. Around 1,000 people were in the building during the time of the fire, so if you might have guessed, it was pretty hard. It was going to be a task for people to get out of the building, since there was only one main exit and additional private staff exit. A third one was locked to prevent robberies. Many people would die from smoke inhalation burns, or they were crushed by the stampede of people. It was also believed when plastic started to burn in the building that there was a lot of fumes that would cause people to faint in only a few minutes. In the end, 67 people would end up losing their lives that day, and 222 people would be injured. The Ministry of Justice investigation discovered that the nightclub was officially registered as a public residence and therefore was never receiving a fire safety inspection. It was also in a zone where nightclubs were prohibited, and the city architect's signature approving the nightclub design had been forged. Between 2004 and 2006, police had filed 47 charges against the club's owner for the legal operation. After that, however, no charges were filed. Suspicions of corruption were raised when one of the co-owners was identified as a senior police officer. September 20th, 2011, the Southern Bangkok Criminal Court found two people, the pub owner and the person responsible for pyrotechnics, guilty of negligence. They were both given 3-year jail terms, and the guy who did the pyrotechnics was ordered to pay 8.5 million baht in compensation. On October 22nd, 2013, the court acquitted the owner of gross negligence. On April 25th, 2014, the Southern Bangkok Criminal Court found the owner guilty of excessive tax violations and sentenced him to 1 year in prison. On November 15th, the club owner was jailed for 3 years. You know, it was weird. There's a lot of coincidence that happened during this night. So, the name of the band who played that night was Burn. That's coincidence one. And the second coincidence was that it was and the name of the party was Santika's last night. Like, they knew it was going to happen. That's weird. These next two I'm going to put together because both of them are unnamed, and there was only one small Wikipedia article about them because of how obscure they are. We're getting really low. Unnamed Guinean Stampede. July 29, 2014. At least 34 people were killed at the end of a rap concert after attendees tried to leave the venue through a small gate. I'm guessing it was a stampede. The next one was an unnamed tribute in Democratic Republic of Congo. This entry had only one website that reported the incident back in 2014. Not much information is on the article, so it reads this. I'm just gonna say it. Power generators were reported to have cut out during the concert in the town of Kitwit, around 500 meters or 300 miles from the capital, during the early hours of Friday, plunging the stadium into darkness. Kitwit is the hometown of the late singer King Castor, who died in Paris in February, aged 57. The singer's funeral was held in Kingsash the following month. The music festival was scheduled to last until Sunday, but the government announced that rest of the program would be cancelled. In a statement, the authorities said that several people were killed in a crush, which was called due infatuation of the public, who came in large numbers to watch events marked the first edition of the festival. When people tried to leave, there was a crush. We have counted 14 deaths and 13 injured, he continued. The investigation had been launched into the cause of the power outage. Abyss. These are the last two. Obviously, this is weird. This is gonna get very strange. Obviously, this is the Abyss. I don't understand why the last entry is this, but we're gonna go to it. Runar, juliusson in Keflavik. I can't say Keflavik. Runar was an Icelandic pop singer and footballer of Keflavik. On December 5th, when he went to his hometown in Keflavik to perform, he was just about to get on stage when out of nowhere, he would suffer a heart attack and he would later die. Chuck E. Cheese overdoses. God, I think this is a joke entry, I swear. The only thing I could find about this was a news story from 2017 where an Ohio lady overdoses on heroin inside a Chuck E. Cheese bathroom while her children were present. Her children were present. Yep. Wow. What a way to end. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then you should consider giving it a like, because I spent way too many hours putting this thing together. You should also consider watching my video essay about one of my favorite bands of all time, because this is also kind of that way of doing that. I just want to advertise a little bit. And maybe you should check out all my other videos if you like. I make a lot of comedy style videos. If you like this one, you should talk about it. Give me a comment. I will maybe make other videos like this. I want to know. And comment what you would like to see next, and I may just consider it. As always, if you would like to see a funny video at the end, just stay tuned all the way until the end when the credits roll. And there's no credits. I don't know why I said that. This was Ricardo. Please say the name right, goddammit. And as your favorite creator, I say to you, subscribe for life.
Why is peanut butter so goddamn smooth? Like, why? Shut the fuck up, Toaster.
Stand behind the pole if you suck dick.
Alexa, what is that song by Jay-Z and Kanye West where they sing about the people in Paris?
That was a creamy one.
What the
Try asking
fuck?
for an